Moving on to Georgia, we can put up C1 here. A Georgia prosecutor is saying that a decision on charges is imminent on whether or not to charge President Donald Trump in the effort to, quote, find, 11,000 votes in Georgia, or anybody around him. Who knows which cast of characters the prosecutors may decide to indict. The question is whether or not to release the kind of grand jury report that they produced, or not whether to release it, but when at what point to release it. What's your read on this?
Right. So there was a hearing yesterday, and that quote about decisions being imminent comes from the Fulton County District Attorney, Fannie Williams, who was having to defend not releasing the full report yet, despite the fact that actually a bunch of media organizations have come out and said the full report should be released right now. There's been a 7-month special grand jury, not regular grand jury, but actual special grand jury investigation. They've interviewed 75 witnesses, I think including Rudy Giuliani and some other folks. And as she was defending the decision not to release that report yet, she came out and said it's because the decision on the charges is imminent. So no full report yet because we're still deciding. And it looks like potentially she could be pursuing racketeering charges against Trump over election. That's what the special grand jury probe was into, his election, trying to overturn the results of the Georgia election in 2020. They think they might have him on racketeering, which is interesting. And then Williams needs to decide whether she'll seek indictments from a regular grand jury now that the special grand jury report is over. I think this is a weird excuse. The prosecutors say it's, quote, dangerous to release the full report before the charges are brought. But then again, it might be that they want to bring charges that weren't recommended by the grand jury, which, by the way, did not even reach out to Donald Trump for an interview. That's what Trump's lawyers are using as a defense.
And what if her resistance to releasing the report is strategic?
Yeah.
And she's actually quite fine with it being released. But when it gets released, then she can say, well, the judge forced our hand here. I didn't want to have to do this, but now this report is out, and there's all this pressure on me, and you see the evidence of the crimes. So yeah, we are going forward with the indictments. Do you think that could possibly be part of the tactic here, or do you think that there is really a decision that is imminent, and what does imminent mean? Because that could mean, like, to me, imminent means like stick around because it's happening any day.
Yeah.
For prosecutors, I don't know, it could mean weeks or months.
Well, and by the way, that's the big implication of this story. That's the big news here, that Donald Trump being charged with criminal racketeering could be imminent in the state of Georgia. Obviously, this is not an investigation. I think that there's so many investigations into Donald Trump that you can't pay attention to all of them, but this one is one that really has the potential to be a dangerous one. Now, she's saying, to your point, quote, we want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, and we think for future defendants to be treated fairly. It's not appropriate at this time to have the report released. So that's her explanation for why she doesn't think the report should be released, because it's about treating defendants fairly, which I don't believe, actually. I don't think she's really interested in treating defendants fairly, because if she were, I mean, listen, this is from Trump's lawyers. The grand jury compelled the testimony of dozens of other often high-ranking officials during the investigation, but never found it important to speak with the president. Therefore, we can assume that the grand jury did their job and looked at the facts and the law as we have and concluded there were no violations of the law by President Trump. That's an interesting read on their decision not to reach out to him.
And prosecutors are also not the ones you necessarily want protecting the rights of defendants, right? It's not exactly who you're going to lean on for that.
That's why I don't believe her.
How do you think Republicans would respond if they did press charges here?
Well, that's why I think this media consortium that's pushing for the report is absolutely right. Because if there's witness testimony from some folks that shows there was some sort of racketeering conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes beyond the Trump quotes to Brad Raffensperger that everybody is already very familiar with, sure, maybe there's something there. But I think Republicans, for the most part, are already completely on the bandwagon that this is whatever is going on, whatever probes are happening into Donald Trump, it's political, bottom line. And maybe, to your point, that's why the prosecutor is trying to hold off on something being released so she can make the charges, then have it released, as opposed to it happening the other way around, where the report gets released and it's like, and then she has to make charges. It's more like, okay, I'll make the charges, then you can see the report. But all anyone's going to care about at that point is the charges.
Yeah. And for most Democrats, that call with Raffensperger where he says, look, guys, just find me the 11,000 votes is enough right there. Like, they're like, all right, you're done. Like, that's a crime. I could see, I've tried to twist myself into a way of finding a way that would not be a crime. And you could imagine, say, both Al Gore or George Bush looking at Florida in 2000 and saying, all right, we're down by 500 votes, find me 500 votes. And they don't necessarily mean go get a box and stuff it with 500 votes. They could mean find a county that, you know, there are butterfly ballots, that it could add up to 500 votes. But I think that requires giving Trump so much benefit of the doubt that nobody can really get themselves there. On the other hand, the reporting from that period and the documentary crew that followed him around, et cetera, all suggest that in his own mind, he may have actually believed this. And it's George Costanza. That's the George Costanza line. If it's not a lie if you believe it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the Costanza defense.
Yeah, the Costanza defense.
But yeah, I think that's right. And I think that's why you don't get Republicans eagerly latching on to something like this. Like, oh, this is our opportunity to just give Trump the boot, because it's not as clear cut. And we were talking about this earlier with the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and why Democrats really wanted to seize on that. It's because they constantly are looking for something that's going to be the smoking gun. And that call is bad. But again, if you can imagine a world in which Donald Trump really thinks that there are 11,000 votes out there that need to be found. And so, while I think it's an inappropriate language and inappropriate pressure to apply in a situation like that, it's not a clear-cut bombshell like piece of wrongdoing to the extent that a man who was elected and won nearly 50% of the vote the second time, he didn't quite get there, but nearly beat Joe Biden. The point is, he has tens of millions of supporters around the country. If you want to charge him with criminal conduct, this might not be the thing. Like, this might not be the big one, because it's still just not that big, clear-cut thing.
But like you said, and I think it's a good point, we'll see what's in the report if and when it does come out, because that could change. It won't change a lot of people's minds, but it could change some people's minds.
Well, who knows? I mean, there was those were some frenzied times in the Trump White House, and who knows what Rudy Giuliani or someone else may have said, or, you know, evidence they may have come across that actually really is even worse than that call, which was already bad, but even worse than the call. It's entirely possible. Although
Powell or somebody like trying to rally like the DHS to seize things, seize voting machines and stuff. Yeah, like you could see some of that being like, okay. You can't do that.
Right.
That's a crime.
Right. But her resistance to releasing it tells me there's probably not a bombshell, a real bombshell in it.
Or there is, and she wants to like reluctantly release it.
I think that's a good theory too.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.